In this video, I'm going to go over Project Lead the Way Utility Shed Part 2. In order to complete this part, we need to go ahead and open our utility shed from Part 1. So we can go to our files, and then we saved ours under Documents if you followed what I did in Part 1, and then Utility Shed Part 1. Now, what I want to show you is we want to open the one that does not have an extension like the .001. What those are representing are different saved versions. The one with no numbers or .00 whatever, that's your original. And so you'll just double click and open that. You also notice that that version will be the one that was saved most recently. So this one was saved at 2:03 p.m. and all the other ones were saved before that. Once your project opens, one of the first things that we want to do before we start making any modifications to Part 1 is we want to go ahead and save it, but save it as a new project. So then we'll have Part 1 if we need to go back to it. So we're going to do Save As Project, and then go to our Documents. And we have a folder for Utility Shed Part 1. We're going to create another new folder and name it Utility Shed Part 2. And then change the name. So I'm going to leave the name the same, but instead of Utility Shed Part 1, I'm going to change that so it says your name _ Utility Shed Part 2, and then go ahead and click Save. And you'll see the name updates at the top there for you. I want to point out something that it sometimes happens is I had mine saved in realistic view, and sometimes I can see that my shed is here, but it's acting kind of funny. So if yours opens and it's not showing that anything's there, you can click on your floor plan and see that your shed actually does exist. So in our 3D view, in order to actually see it, let's just go ahead and change at the bottom if we click on that rectangular prism and change it back to hidden line for now. And then you can see your shed, and we'll work in this view for now, and then later on change it back to either shaded or realistic. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to modify the brick wall on our shed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So you may have to hover until you select that wall. And then over on the left-hand side, we want to click Edit Type. But instead of modifying this exact wall, we want to duplicate it and create a new wall with the same layers. And we're going to call this Shed Wall with Siding. And you'll see that name changed under Type. Next, we want to edit the structure of the wall. So we're going to go ahead and click Edit. And then you'll notice the number 1 will be like the exterior of the wall. So this is like our brick finish. And if I scroll down, this will be the innermost layer, which is gypsum wallboard, basically a drywall on the inside, which is denoted here, exterior side. So the items closer to the top are towards the exterior, and then interior side, those closer to the bottom, will be the interior side of the wall. If we go ahead and click Preview, we can see what the layers of our wall look like. This top layer shows that it's the brick, and that's the layer that we want to change. So this top layer, brick, if we click on the material, and then this 3 little dots within the material, then we want to click on Project Materials, and we want to change it so that it is a siding. There is no siding that currently exists, so the closest material to siding would be wood. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And because there is no siding under here, the one that would resemble it the closest is going to be this plywood sheathing. We want to right click and duplicate it. So now we have 2 plywood sheathings, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this as siding, horizontal wood. Then I'm going to go ahead and expand this window so I can see all this information over on the side. If I click up in the name, it's going to go ahead and update it so that these match. And I want to go ahead and change the description as well to horizontal wood siding. If you do not see the same options that I have here, make sure you click on the Identity tab. Next, we want to click on Graphics. And we want to change the pattern so it'll have horizontal lines that go through it. So click on Pattern and then scroll down until you find horizontal. Select that and click OK. We're going to do the same thing in the background pattern, surface pattern. So we did it in the foreground. Same thing for the background. Scroll down to horizontal, select that, and click OK. Next, we want to select Appearance. And then we want to open the Asset Browser, which is at the bottom left here under Media Libraries. It's this third icon, and it's going to open another window for us. You can go ahead and drag and expand that. And you can also, these sometimes are a little hard to see, so if you hover over the middle, and you can drag that over as well. We then want to select the Appearance library, and then go down to Siding. And it'll update all of our siding options on the right-hand side. We are looking for wood horizontal cedar. Once you find that, then over on the right-hand side, it's going to show that it's locked. That's okay. Over on the right-hand side, there's these two double arrows. We're just going to click on that. What that does is it replaces the current asset in our editor window here with the updated version. So if I click on another one like the vertical white, you can see that that updated, but I want the wood horizontal cedar. So that's what it should look like. Once you've done that and you can see that it's been updated, you can go ahead and close this asset browser. We can then click OK. And we can see that now this is updated with our siding. We now want to change the thickness of it. So instead of 3 5/8 inches, we want to just change it so that it's only a 1/2 inch thick. So if I highlight that and change it, and once I click off of it, it automatically updates. So you can see the change here. I also want to get rid of this air gap here. So if you have this 3-inch air gap, we just want to delete it. So you can click on the number and highlight the whole row. And then down here at the bottom, if we hit delete, it'll get rid of that entire material layer. We are then going to click OK and OK again. Now, it automatically updated this wall, so it is the shed wall with siding, but I actually want this wall to be the brick. So I'm going to change that back. And it should be exterior brick on metal stud. So that's now back to brick. And then my other walls, I want to change those to be with the siding. And sometimes it's easier if you get into your floor plan. So if you don't have that open, double click on it, or if it's up at the top. So the thicker wall right now, that's going to be my brick wall. If I click on it, it's going to show me that here. My other walls, I want to go ahead and change. And you'll see in your list, you should have one that's now called shed wall with siding. If you want to change more than one wall at once, if you click and then hold down the control key, you can then select multiple walls and change those all at once. So I now have, if I click on it, I can see shed wall with siding. So these 3 are all shed wall with siding, and this one is my exterior brick. If I go to my 3D view, I can see that as well. We can then change, so we can put this back into shaded or realistic view. So let's first do shaded. So again, that's the rectangular prism at the bottom. And go ahead and select shaded. So you can see the brick and the siding. And then let's go ahead and change that also to realistic. And again, sometimes I'm not really sure what causes it, but if yours is disappearing and it's not allowing you to see it in realistic, then just change it back to either shaded or hidden line. And if I find a solution for that, I'll let you know. It's kind of an odd thing. Now, one of the next things that I want to show you is how to actually put doors and windows into your shed. So let's go ahead and go to our floor plan. And if you go to the architecture tab, it'll give you the options for doors and windows here. If you click on door, it will give you some that are automatically loaded, but we can load some additional doors by going to insert and then clicking on load Autodesk family. And if you notice that it's like grayed out and I can't click on it, make sure you click on modify. You may have to click it a couple times to exit out of whatever it is that we were doing. And now I can click load Autodesk family. If it's your first time getting into here, you're going to have to create an Autodesk sign-in. So if you already have one from previous years, from Fusion or Inventor or anything like that, you can use the same account. If you've never done it or you don't remember, then go ahead and click create an account and go through this sign up process. Once you've signed up, go ahead and log in. Once you've signed in, it'll take you to this page. And on the left-hand side, we want to go down till we see doors. You could also search up items up at the top, but for now, I'm just going to select doors. For your shed, you don't have to pick the exact same door that I choose, but I would pick like a single door, one that would look like it should go on a shed. I'm going to choose the door interior single one panel and go ahead and click load. And then it's going to ask me which option I want. So I can select, and if you want to select multiple, just hold down the control key. But for now, I'm just going to pick 34 by 80 inches and then click OK. I can then go see if it's loaded by going to the architecture tab and going back and clicking on door. And it should be the first one that pops up, but if not, click the drop down arrow and then find it. So these were all the ones that were preloaded, and you can load as many different doors as you want and then choose between them. So I'm gonna select that one, and then if I just hover over, it'll let me click and place my door wherever I want it. So I'm gonna put it in my brick wall, which is the thickest wall that I have. And I just click and place it. If you want to place multiple doors, you could do that, but my shed's only going to have one. When I'm done placing all my doors, I can then click modify to get out of that. And I want my door to swing into the shed. So if I click on the door, it'll give me these arrows that'll flip the direction. So if I click on those ones, it flips it from left to right. These arrows will flip it from interior to exterior. The reason I'm having my door swing into the shed is because typically exterior doors open up into the building. Now I also want to add some windows. So again, you could just click on window and use any of the defaults, but I want to check out what is available. So I'm going to again go to insert, load Autodesk family, but again, if it's grayed out, just click modify. Once you've logged in, you do not need to log in again. Now to get to all my results, I'm just going to click on this up at the top and it'll give me everything that's available, and I'm going to scroll down to Windows. Now you don't want to use any of these mutant patterns. You want to find ones that are actual windows. So if you scroll down, you'll find some actual windows that you can choose from. For your shed, you can pick any one that you think will look nice. Once you select your window, go ahead and click load, and then it's going to ask you what size window you want. Click OK. Then go to the architecture tab and then select window to actually be able to place the window. The latest one that you loaded will pop up at the top. But then if you click, you can see all the ones that have been loaded. And then if I just hover, I'll be able to see, and I can place a couple windows. So I can put as many as I want. And this is totally up to you, however many that you want to place inside your shed. Now that we've added windows and doors, one of the things that you may have noticed is after we changed our wall types, it has changed the size of our shed. So we wanted it to be a 12-foot by 16-foot shed. And the thickness of the walls have changed those dimensions. So we want to change those back, but I can't do that by clicking on the permanent dimensions. If I try to do that, it'll open up this window, but I can't actually modify this at all. So I have to change it using my temporary dimensions. So if I click on one of my walls, I first want to make sure that my temporary dimensions go outside wall to outside wall. And then because it's like light blue, this one I can change. So I could go ahead and click on that and change that to 12 feet. And it automatically updated my permanent dimension as well because those are locked in from outside wall to outside wall. Then I can do the same thing with my 16-foot wall. If I click here, I can line these up. So again, there it's going from middle to middle. So if I do outside to outside, and then make sure that I'm clicking on the temporary dimension and change it to 16 feet. If it's hard to read when you click on this because they kind of overlap, then do the opposite wall. So you could do these ones at the bottom instead. Now, something that we can do to make sure that even if we change the wall type, that the size of our building doesn't change, is you can actually lock the dimensions. So if I click on the 16-foot dimension and I click on the little lock, that'll guarantee that this will stay 16 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this 12-foot side and go ahead and lock that dimension as well. Now, one of the things that we talked about at the end of the video in part 1 was that our floor should go all the way the outside walls. But if we notice, if I'm looking at my floor here, it's going to the middle of these walls. So I want to go ahead and modify that. So how you can select your floor is if you hover over, it'll show you the name of what it is that you're selecting. So I'm going to go ahead and select my floor by double clicking. And it's going to give me how my floor is currently lined up. And we'll notice here that this is not lined up with the outside wall. So I can just click on that and I can just drag it so that it'll line up to the exterior wall. But there's actually a tool that makes it a little bit easier. So up at the top, if I click on one of my sides, so if you notice, it's slightly off. And then I click on this align tool. So it's under the modify edit boundary align tool. And then click on the wall and the floor. It'll line them up for me automatically. And I can do that on all 4 sides. And just like with the permanent dimensions, if I want my floor to stay so that it'll stay connected to the outside of all the walls, there is this little lock symbol. So I can go ahead and lock that, and then that'll keep those connected. Once I'm done, I'm just going to hit the green check mark at the top. I can then go to my 3D view and take a look. And if I flip my building upside down, I can see that everything is all lined up. Now, the next thing I want to do is actually document my design by creating what is called a sheet to show the different views of my shed. So under your project browser, you're going to go ahead and scroll down and you'll see a section that's called Sheets. If you right click on that, that's how you can create a new sheet. It gives me a default sheet, but I need to load a different size sheet, and I need to do that the same way that I loaded my doors and my windows. So I'm going to close that for now and come back to that. So I'm going to go into Insert and Load Autodesk Family. And I need to go back to All Results. and scroll down to what's called title blocks. And the size sheet that I want to use is the 11 by 17 horizontal. So the second one here, select that and click load. Now, if I go back to my sheets under the project browser, right click, new sheet. Now I see I have two different options. So that 11 by 17 horizontal shows up, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now I want to add some information to this. So in the bottom right-hand corner where it says unnamed, this is where I want to put the name of my project. So if I click once and then click again, so it's like a slow double click, I can then change the name, and we're going to name it Green Utility Shed. For project number, you can put 2.1.3. The date, put today's date. Drawn by should be your name. And then checked by will be me. So you can put Mrs. Askin in that area. And once you have that updated, go ahead and scroll over and you can put the same thing here. So your owner, so you put your name. So we're going to say that it's John Smith. And then the project name, we will make it the same as the name that you put over on the right. So Green Utility Shed. Your updated title block should look something similar to this with your information. Now we want to go ahead and add some of our different views to our sheet to kind of show off our work. So the first thing we're going to add is our 3D view. So if it's not open up at the top, you can go to 3D views under the project browser and double click and it'll open it, or just click on the tab that you want up at the top. Once you open up your 3D view, the first thing we want to do is turn on our crop region. So down at the bottom, we have these icons, and towards the middle, there's one that has a light bulb on it. It says show crop region. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll notice that a box will come up. If we drag this on our sheet, that'll be everything inside the box is what we'll be able to see on our sheet, and we don't want these real long lines showing. So I'm going to click on the box, and I'm just going to drag that close into my shed. And if I zoom in, I can adjust it even a little bit more if I would like. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is if you do move this, it may change what you can see. And so if you do that, then you may have to come back and make some modifications to make sure whatever it is that you want to see is shown within the crop region. And in this, you want to show the brick wall, and you want to show one of the walls with siding. Once you have it how you like it, then click off of it. And we want to then turn off our crop region or hide it. So we're going to go back to that same icon at the bottom and then click hide crop region. Now to actually add this view to our sheet, we can open it up. So you could go back down to sheets and double click, or you can up at the top, just click on that tab. And then to bring on the 3D view, find it in the project browser, and you'll click and hold and then drag it on to the sheet. And right now the view, if we want to know what scale it's in, if we look under the properties menu, the view scale is 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. And we're going to leave that for now. You can change the size of the view by clicking on it, and then there is a drop down box. As you go up and hit apply, it makes it a little bigger. If you go down, it makes it smaller, but we're going to leave it at 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. Now we also want to add the floor plan and then 2 elevation views to our sheet. So let's do the floor plan next. So if you go ahead and open up the floor plan, and we want to show the crop region. So down at the bottom, towards the middle, show crop region. When you click on it, to show that it's on, it turns like the light bulb yellow, but I don't see anything. So what you need to do is zoom out, because the crop region can be pretty big, and we don't want to show all that on our sheet. So instead, if I click on the box and again drag that in, making sure that I don't cover up any of my floor plan. So I just drag it in as much as I can at first, and then zoom in and then adjust it. Again, once you have it how you like it, click off of it. And then we want to make sure to turn or hide that crop region, because it looks a little bit better on our sheet if that's not showing. If we go back to our sheet, now again, left click, hold, and then drag it on to our sheet. If you look below, so this is our labels. So if we notice up here, it shows that this is our 3D view. So we want to keep those labels. This shows that it's a floor plan, and it'll actually show the scale, 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. We want to make this a little bit bigger. So if you click on it and then under properties where it says view scale, we want to change it so it's 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So I'm going to go ahead and change that and then click apply. And then we want to click and drag it so it's not overlapping our 3D view. You can also, if you want to make some smaller changes, use the arrows on your keyboard. And I want my label to go all the way across my image. So I'm going to drag that, make it a little bit longer. And then if I want to move it up, if I click off of it and then click just on the label, I can drag it up so it's a little bit closer to that image. Now, a good thing to know is, let's say you look at it and you're like, oh, I should have dragged this 16-foot dimension a little bit closer to my building. You can still do that, because any changes that you make will automatically update on the sheet. So let's go ahead and do that. If I go to floor plan and I click on the 16-foot and drag it in so it's a little bit closer, maybe I do the same thing with my 12-foot dimension. Now if I go back to the sheet, you'll see that it automatically updates that as well. Now, the last thing I want to do is add 2 elevation views. I want to add one elevation that shows the door. So one of the 12-foot sides and one of the 16-foot sides. So if you don't know which side is which, then just select one of the elevation views. So if I start with the east side, I can check, and I got lucky that that is my side with my door. But if not, you can click through and find the 2 views that you want to use. Again, go to the bottom, do show crop region, and click on your crop region and go ahead and drag that in. And what's nice is it kind of will resize these lines with you as you change the size of the crop region. Once you have it how you like it, turn off the crop region. If you feel like these lines are still a little too long, you can click on the tiny blue dot and drag those in a little bit closer. But that's up to you, whatever you think looks good. And then go to your sheet and drag on that elevation view. So that was my east view. And then I need to add one more. So I will add either the north or the south. So you can take a look at both of those and decide which one that you like better. So I'm going to add my north view, show the crop region, click on the box and drag it in. Once you're done, go back to your sheet and add that view. Once you've added the 3D view, the floor plan, and 2 elevation views, you have completed part 2 of the utility shed. Nice work. just make sure that you hit save and that you are constantly saving as you're working on your project.